Oh, I think we have internet, but we're here. Hey everybody, it's me, Cat Napzok, and this is another live edition of The Blathering, aka The Blathering Live, aka it's still a podcast, audio only. It's also a live show here on my YouTube channel, and I am happy to be with all of you here today on a Monday, February 24th. Holy moly. It's my dad's birthday tomorrow. Ed and George Harrison's. It's not what George Harrison sounds like. If you're here in live chat, bear with me if I start getting a little fuzzy on the old internet, because I am uploading a Force Center episode on another computer. I just sat down. I don't even have an alcoholic beverage today. I have 7-Eleven Replenish Zero, Cal. 7-Eleven. It's the best restaurant in the world. And a lot of you are joining me here, and you had been hanging out with us over on Force Center for a hour and a half look at Andor's second season teaser trailer, a trailer I loved. We finished recording live, and then I was working on 3 podcast episodes at once, working on getting up the audio feed for the live show, working on the video for the news tomorrow, working on the audio for the news tomorrow, and trying to prep for this show. So guess what? I didn't prep for this show. But in the middle of that, I watched the Andor trailer like 6 more times. And I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. And I always on Force Center speak with measured tones. Especially because there's 3 of us. We want to make sure all opinions and experiences and journeys are represented and explained. But here, because I have the power on the Blathering, I absolutely love the inclusion of Steve Earle's The Revolution Starts Now. Like I said on Force Center, I'm not going to sit here and say I've been a giant Steve Earle fan over the years, that I can name all of his songs. Couldn't. But the use of Steve Earle in that song, in that trailer, whoever came up with that idea, or whoever's came up with that idea, it is purposeful. It is political. It is poignant. It is powerful. And is it a stereotypical, normal, traditional Star Wars trailer? No, it was a TV spot. It's a TV spot. It wants to grab your attention in a way they have not in the past with other trailers. And I absolutely, the more I think about it, maybe because also I saw some people, maybe, I don't know, I'll just say former coworkers and supervisory types, calling it just a baffling, horrible decision to include that song in. Then you don't have to like it. You in here in chat don't have to like it. It was done with great purpose. And if you can't see or understand that purpose and just barf out that kind of opinion on a YouTube live stream, entitled, make it your thumbnail title, then you probably don't understand what's going on in Andor season 1 or what's about to happen in season 2. So I am jazzed up about that trailer, jazzed up about that goddamn song. Steve Earle is a socialist. Steve Earle, who's 70 now, has been fighting the powers that be for a long time, including those within the Democratic Party, though he generally votes Democratic. He, in 2017, had a quote about Trump being an orangutan of a president and a fascist. And I don't think his opinion's changed since then. He's not in Star Wars. This song's not going to be in Star Wars. It's just in a trailer that reaches out and says, hey, this is a show in which the rebellion is born, which is a fun Star Wars concept, but it is about the revolution being here. And are you prepared for that? And I'm not saying everything is a 1-to-1 comparison, that we all need to jump on our X-Wings and start blasting things. But maybe spiritually, we got to get ready for that. Maybe spiritually, we should be there. And this is a show that's going to be about that. Tully Quinn says, honestly, the music discussion Force Center was awesome. Major cool credit to all of you. Thank you. And like I said, it does rub up against you. It's different. I'm not 100% on board with the using of the pull quotes. But again, this was TV spot, essentially, even though it was broadcast live. And I think we're so correctly and understandably trained to go, ooh, new Star Wars trailer is here. It's going to have some sweeping music that's going to send one tear down our cheek. We're going to be inspired. And this is a saga we love. Absolutely. Andor's been different from the start. And at times I've been at odds with Andor over that, or odds with some of the fans of Andor over that. But I'm jazzed up today because that trailer was fucking political. And Andor is going to be political in a way that you cannot ignore. You can't ignore it. And that's what they got to play with. So there you go. There you go. We don't talk Star Wars here too much. Yeah, David asked Mo. I gotta ask Mo. Did David? I want to say it right. Is it ad aimed at the general population of Star Wars fans? Yes. Addie says, can I have context? What was the song? Go back and watch it with sound later. It is Steve Earle's The Revolution Starts Now, the title track from his 2004 album. Steve Earle was also he's an outlaw country performer. He's an alternative country performer. He and others like the Dixie Chicks were early, shall we say, adopters of the Iraq War is Bad, and we're going to say something about it group. And some of that group, of course, paid a price for their career at that, though they overcame it. So Steve Earle's song Revolution, The Revolution Starts Now, is about revolution beginning in your streets, in your home, where you are at. And it has a very explicit line of, why are you standing by? The revolution starts now. So it's apropos for Andor, and it's mostly about what is in the content of Andor. But other than just, I think, being a rockin' tune, whoever's responsible for that decision said, hey, what if we did this? What if we did this? All right. Plus, Lauren Romo says, it's new Star Wars. How could you not be jazzed? Okay. David Asmo. Osmo? The P is silent, and the A is pronounced ah, like Ahsoka. Osmo. Love that, David. David, that's a great name. Strange Norwegian name. Hey, you're talking to Ken Napzok. Coop saying the revolution may not be televised, but it's on Instagram Reels. And yeah, Addie, I'm with you too. You say, gotcha. I watch on Instagram, but don't have the sound on all the time. I have my sound on Instagram always off until I I need to hear this. And I hate when I'm in a waiting room or somewhere, and I just accidentally tap it. And suddenly the entire waiting room gets to hear whatever's playing on Instagram. And it's usually some influencer that I don't even follow that's just in my search bar or something like that. Rad says, what? A franchise whose bad guys are literally called stormtroopers is political? Well, I never. Yeah, we talked about that on Force Center last week. And I always say this. Again, you weren't expected to know all that growing up in the 80s. It was present. Maybe it was a wink and a nod to the adults. I don't know. But it's only become more present. And look, George, you may have some quotes from George in the 70s or the early 80s saying what Star Wars was. I don't doubt that those exist. That didn't reach the playgrounds. There was no conversation I had on the playgrounds in 1983 or around that era going, Star Wars is political. It was what it was. It was pew, pew, pew. But like any great art, that's what George did. As we know, I'm not even going to go into it. I actually think it's sometimes a boring conversation to go into what George felt about Star Wars because it's just so documented, and it's well documented. But sometimes I do think it's important to lean on it because people don't understand. Eli says, so excited that Ben Mendelsohn is back. Absolutely. Even if it's just one episode or one arc or one scene, which is probably what I think it is, one arc. Love that he gets to come back. I'm so inspired today. Back in the 80s, Empire was not America necessarily. Whether George would say yes and no from Vietnam, blah blah blah. But to your point, Alan, it is a little different. The framework. I don't want to get into. I don't want to get into Reagan. Let's not talk about Reagan today. I'm wearing this shirt today. I got a shout out to my buddy Matt Key. A couple years ago, got me the Rebels baseball jersey here. And since we talk about sports a lot, and I saw that Steve said 16 seconds of sports will be after baby goes to bed. That works for me. Steve says, oh, that's neat. Oh, Steve's here. I guess baby's asleep. I'm in a weird mood today. I haven't stopped working since about 9:15 today. I know. So sad. So sorry for me. But I sat down with an egg McMuffin, not a McDonald's egg McMuffin, but like a little frozen one I got from the store. And I literally I took a bite. I was like, and I saw Triad of the Force, Love Goose over there. Triad of the Force had posted on Blue Sky, new trailers here, Andor trailer, and I literally was like, oh, and that's been my work day up until this moment. Baby's still, baby's still going to bed. Coop says, no Reagan, instead Reagan. Coop says, stories have more power than we realized as kids. Lord of the Rings made me ardently anti-war. Yeah. Right? Part of the process. Growing up and growing into the stories there. So, hey, if you want to call in, you know what you got to do. Become a channel member here on YouTube. We are still up and over 100 channel members. That really absolutely means a ton to me. And then we also would love you to become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/Ken Napzok because I got cool things over there. I got one of my favorite episodes of Pop Rockin' Radio is up, available to anyone on the channel. It is my look at 1995. I talked about it on Saturday. I talk about it again today. I love the episode. Some great songs. So check it out there. If you can't listen live, but some of you might be up at midnight on the East Coast and tuning into Hall of Fame Music Radio on HOFMradio.com. And you might be enjoying the show live. I hope you do. But it's on Patreon, and then some stuff coming on Patreon related to stand-up here. Okay, I am favoriting questions, so if you got questions, get to that. We're going to take some calls here. Let me get the call thing going, and I'm going to take a call from our buddy, Brennan Mystical Mar, who I'm going to guess has some Star Wars thoughts today. Brennan, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Good. I like to hear that. All things considered, as we say.
All things considered, yes.
All things considered, the Brennan Mars story. Brennan, what's on your mind today, man? How you feeling about Andor?
I'm excited. I mean, there's as we've been talking about the politics of it.
Yeah.
For me, this might be controversial.
Hit me.
I do engage with the politics, it's true.
Okay.
But mostly what I find myself looking at is great storytelling, great characters, great writing.
Yeah.
Those are the things that draw me to Andor. I'm not sitting there going, oh my gosh, it's this, and this.
Yeah. I agree.
I recognize that it's there. Yes.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, Brennan, in the sense that I think also what makes it work, similar to a show like Game of Thrones, which has its politics and messaging, and Lord of the Rings is mentioned here already, is the quality of it. And Andor, and this isn't, as we always say, this isn't using Andor to bash other things, because I love so many other things in Star Wars. Like,
yes, I do. Me too.
Yeah, I'm at a 98% like rate.
Yes.
I don't use a bash, but it is a special kind of show in the presentation, the writing, the dialogue, the performances. I wish more things in Star Wars felt like that show, not necessarily its lack of aliens and all the things that I can rail on, but it's how it presents it. And I think that's why, and it's almost to a sometimes frustrating angle here where a lot of people will watch Andor and come away with the idea that it is absolutely not political, that it's just a gritty, fun action Star Wars story.
That would be very strange to say.
Very frustrating. But the other thing to ask you, Brennan, here, you're very focused in on a lot of the spiritual aspects of Star Wars. How do you connect with Andor on a spiritual level? Because it's there, it's just packaged differently.
Not as much, not on a spiritual level.
Yeah.
Certainly, some of the ideas like Martha's speech about love. I mean, my goodness.
Amazing, right?
The second time I watched that, I was sobbing.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. I mean, no, it doesn't have as much of the wise sayings and all those things, but I think that what worked for me was just, it was so well told.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's interesting because I think when it comes to the politics, which are obvious, I think maybe a lot of your casual fans, it's not something that they get that the Empire's bad. They get that.
Yeah.
They might pick up on the Nazi connection.
Yeah.
If we're allowed to say that word. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube will tell me when I can't. They're so random in which they demonetize this stream.
But I think a lot of people just watch it and go, "Wow, this is really well made."
Well, that is something that's important to me when it comes to these kind of discussions about these shows, not just Star Wars or Andor, but even House of the Dragon, which is especially season 1 is is a feminist story with a writers room with 6 female writers versus 4 male writers.
Yes.
And I say that kind of snarkily because there's some people who I disagreed with their takes on what the show was saying because they just assumed there was a bunch of men in a writing room again, and that's an incorrect statement. But the show, you don't need to hang out there with it. And I know a lot of folks who just watch this stuff to watch it, which is not wrong. I think it's when you watch something just to watch it and then you act like it's not saying something versus, I just tune in because I get home from work and this is what I want to do. And Andor is one of the best things to do that with because it's so well made.
That's the great thing about Star Wars is it operates on so many levels. If you want to engage with the politics, you can. But if you also want to engage with the pew action, that's there too. So I mean, it would be interesting because if the show was terrible and yet it had all these political messages, it probably wouldn't work very well just because you still have to construct a good story.
Still have to do it right, which, I know some people will lob at some other shows in the Star Wars galaxy as it just wasn't good and it wasn't about the message I was upset about. And that's a slippery slope, but I also think I get it. I get it when you're having a good faith discussion about it, which a lot of people don't, but you and I are.
With the show.
What's that? Sorry.
I do have a beef with the show.
Oh, what's the beef?
Well, the show is incredible.
Yeah.
This is Star Wars for adults. That's the annoying part. When a lot of people run around saying, "Oh, this is the mature stuff."
Well, including members of the cast. Stellan Skarsgård straight up said that.
It's like it's Star Wars for adults.
Yeah, season 1. Yeah, it's a backhanded compliment. It is something left over from a bygone era where those little comical booklets are those things for kids to read. And again, Star Wars: Return of the Jedi being for kids in a way, and George spending his entire career saying I made this for kids, which is misconstrued and out of context because he says he makes it for 12-year-olds. But I'm with you on those front lines. I think Mandalorian season 3 remains one of my favorite seasons of Star Wars television.
I would absolutely agree.
Despite being uneven at times, a little less focused, and some things I have some issues with as time goes on. But it being very much, especially the stuff around Bo-Katan, a cynical adult who no longer believes in the things that she was taught when she was young or she was part of when she was young, and literally falls into a fantasy, falls into a myth, and the mythosaur is real and staring back at her. That's part of what we talk about at Force Center a lot about. Playing with your action figures is actually something that's very important, very real, and can be really poignant and inspiring to a lot of us out there.
I think that it's also interesting is that a lot of people might say, "Oh, look, a show for adults finally." I would say to them, "Well, Star Wars Rebels is dealing with the same things that Andor is."
Yeah, Rebels are Bad Batch 4, absolutely.
It's like, I know they're cartoons with silly side characters, but they're dealing with the exact same ideas as Andor.
They are, and I
think a lot of people dismiss that.
Yeah. They dismiss it. But again, I come from a comedy world where stand-up's a little different right now. But for years, look at the Academy. One of the reasons I eventually just kind of pulled off of caring about the Academy is they don't. The assumption that a comedy, and I'm not talking about a Adam Sandler, Netflix comedy. I'm talking about someone who actually really does a full-on comedy movie with some drama. It's looked down upon a little bit at times, and that's I'm speaking generally about the voting body of the Academy. But after a while, I was just like, I didn't care as much. And it's not about comedy is harder. It's different. It's a different muscle, but we look down upon it. Stand up. Look, it's the jester. It's the court jester. Even though the court jester was speaking often truth to power, that was the purpose of it in a weird way. So, anyways.
Oh, by the way, I have to say to Addie in the chat, I saw Wicked yesterday.
There you go.
Or on Saturday. I finally watched it.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. So
there you go. Andor season 2 better have puffer pigs, says David McKay.
I'm telling Addie because she's the one who's musical theater.
Yeah, absolutely.
In our chat.
Absolutely. Well, among others. I continue to piss off the musical theater fans out there. It's part of my fun. It's a personal fun thing.
I would, the last thing I would say is just, you look at something like Bad Batch.
Yeah.
And if you were to say, oh, it's just a silly kid show, I think you would be completely wrong.
Oh, completely.
Because that third season, oh my gosh.
Yeah, Bad Batch remains my favorite of the Star Wars shows. Yeah. And it's highly charged, and it's highly political, and it has a socialist agenda. It has a workers' agenda. It's very overt in what it does and what it says. So, and very anti-war.
So for all this talk of, oh, it's kid stuff, it's like, that would be not getting it.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Andor, I think, is doing a lot of the same things that the cartoons are doing. So.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I've said.
Really any different in terms of.
Yeah.
This is elevated stuff. It's like,
No, absolutely. No, one of the things I've been seeing going around even just today is I think there's a divide sometimes in the Star Wars fandom, which I get because I have a group of folks that I don't really gravitate towards as well, and not the names people would think of, but some people I just like, you don't understand what the word cameo is. I'm good here. But there's also a war between the parties, and I think this Andor promotion is a challenge to people to let go of that, and this is doing something that is needed to promote what I think will be a pretty important show in the history of Star Wars.
I agree.
Brennan, thank you for the call. Normally I don't like talking Star Wars here on the Blathering, but perfect time for you to call in and talk Star Wars.
Indeed. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Hey, Brennan, did you get that Outback trip in?
Tonight.
Tonight's the night. Tonight. All right. I expect a report on that Bloomin' Onion.
Indeed.
Thank you, Brennan. Brennan Mystical Mar, check it in, everybody. There you go. That shirt makes Ken look strong enough to pull ears off a Gundar. If I had I haven't lifted weights in about 3 weeks, Laserbolt. I've just been doing cardio and watching hacks, okay? And I know. I don't think Jared the TIE Pilot's here today. He's playing D&D. But I'm watching hacks, not Deep Space Nine, while I do cardio. And it's been good. I'm going to do that for the show. Okay. I got some questions. We got Addie calling in. Hey, if you want to call in, today's the day. Here's my notes. Blank. I literally did not have... I sat down 2 minutes before air. All right. JMB put up a super chat, says, leaving this here in case I missed the beginning. Well, JMB, I think you missed the beginning, but you're here, and I'm happy you renewed as a member to this channel. You renewed your membership. Blah, blah, blah. Words. Okay, Rich T, we got some questions here. Let's talk some Andor here. Rich T. Ken, in your book, there's a part where you asked your mom about Vader's mask. Did your parents like Star Wars? Both? Just one? One more than the other? Great question, Rich T. My parents tolerated Star Wars. I did not know that at the time. I give my parents credit. There is probably what you're referring to in the book. There's one particular, I remember being in a grocery store, we're waiting in line, and I was asking my mom about Obi-Wan and Luke's father, and did he know, and was it Darth Vader? And I just, I was 8 or something asking questions, and she played along but didn't have the answers. This is only 2 years later. My mom had absolutely no interest in Star Wars. My dad has an interest in it in a passing sense because he likes zeitgeisty things. He'll go see a big blockbuster movie. He loves it. He just looks at it as entertainment too. Doesn't dig too deep. Just likes to go catch a movie on a Sunday by himself. He's been doing that for years. I told the story, but famously he watched Force Awakens and called me and says, I think they're leaving it open to more sequels. Like, Dad, you're onto something there. But I kid. But the one thing I will say is growing up, they didn't take it away from me, but they definitely had a lot of satanic panic vibes when it came to Star Wars. There was this problematic kind of trope of Star Wars promoted Eastern mysticism. And that term, Eastern mysticism, is dripping with a lot of connotations that even people who used it didn't fully understand. They just used it in the sense of this wasn't putting forth good old Western religious values. This was taken from a lot of different religions. And there's also this idea of visions and manifesting and those kind of things. It was treated as forbid in my house and the house of many of my friends. So that's the only pushback that was there on Star Wars. But they never took Star Wars away from me. They never really took any of my things away from me, other than I had to shut off some He-Man episodes and couldn't really watch He-Man, and my He-Man toys were taken more directly. But Star Wars, it was like they had one eye on it. One eye on it. Let's make sure Kenny doesn't get too far into the quote Eastern mysticism that Star Wars promotes. So that is that. But thank you, Rich. I love that question. Laserbolt says, what do you think about the entire 12 episodes being shown in a 4-week span? I don't love it. Just talking. Oh, good. Coop. Thank you. Coop says, I'll share my Skeletor figs with you, please. Thank you. Skeletor was a hard one to keep in the house. What Laserbolt is talking about is Andor's going to be released, as we discovered today with the teaser trailer. It's going to be released in 4 weeks in 3-episode chunks, which is how it was written. I don't love it for a lot of reasons, and I take the podcaster hat off. It's going to kind of make things a little difficult for us to cover the show in a timely manner. We're still trying to figure that out ourselves now that we know this. But I don't mind it in terms of that's how those were written. Whether or not I agree with that being kind of a streaming format, I'm on the record of being somewhat grumpy with how some of the Andor episodes ended in like the middle of the runs. But I'm less worried about that this time around. I think it will be fun though, and I'm okay to try it. It seems as though this might be something new they're trying because, as was talked about today on the Force Center live stream, the latest Spider-Man animated show, the one that has an actor who doesn't like that woke stuff. They did this as well, from what I understood. Shorter episodes. That's a little easier to digest, but it seems to be something that's working for them. But also it is a bummer because I just like 12 weeks. Having 12 weeks of a show is a lot more fun for me as a Star Wars fan than having 4 weeks. But also because we don't know what's after. Ahsoka season 2 is a long way away. And unless they're announcing some surprised, already completed or nearly completed animated show, which they'd have to have been working on one for years, we don't have nothing coming on the books that we know of. And that's going to be sad too. So that's it. Yeah, Eli points out the truth we talked about on Anytime. The Spider-Man show is legitimately hilarious because it could not be more woke. Yes, absolutely. And Rich is right. Each block is a year. Yeah, and that's the other thing too that's different than season 1. Season 1 was one stretch of time. This is jumping around. But anyways, Laserbolt, to your question, I'm mixed on it. We'll see. And we have no choice. We just have to see. Cameron says, I don't get the alien argument talking about Andor. I see it, but wasn't Empire Strikes Back fairly devoid of aliens compared to Hope and Jedi? Yes and no. To explain it a little bit more, we joked about it today on Force Center for those that were watching, but I'll repeat it for those that were. I have eventually, over the years, have kind of essentially created a character of Tony Gilroy that is not real, but it's based on his ideas presented in interviews. It's just kind of based on his attitude and past comments about Star Wars. He came in and saved Rogue One. Rogue One is pretty much him and other writers that came in. the tale told out of school that I cannot confirm nor will deny or whatever you want to say. Gareth Edwards effed it up and was out of his depths and took a deal to let other people come in and finish this film and go play nice in the press. And that's what happened. That was different than some of the other incidences that happened later on with films. That's the talk on the street. So Gilroy did save and give us Rogue One. But to him come out, I think about a year or so later, basically come out, I'm paraphrasing, because this is why it's a character. Paraphrasing, I don't even like Star Wars. I didn't care. So therefore, I wasn't precious with it. And that, going back to some stuff Brennan and I talked about, I don't like that, sometimes that don't be too precious with Star Wars thing can be used incorrectly. But other times I think it's okay to say don't be too precious with Star Wars. Try something new, i.e. Steve Earle in a trailer. That's amazing. Don't be precious with it. Enjoy that. But Gilroy over the years he's got a pretension to him that I don't love. And a pretension that I sometimes love to go fight and love to poke at. And he definitely has the Star Wars, like if anyone has the Andor is for adults, the Star Wars for adults, it comes from Tony Gilroy. They have aliens in Andor. There's a lot more of them than I think people want to give him credit for. And Dewey and Freedy, the two wonderful, weird characters, are front and center. But I think it's a different vibe than Empire, which has Tauntauns, which has, Ugnaughts, which has Yoda. I think the presence of Yoda stands in opposition to some of the stuff that Gilroy has thought or said or I make him think. He says about Star Wars. The space slug. I think it's there more at Empire, and it's dealt with. It's a little more serious. Yeah, Empire is the dark and gritty one, right? And I love it for it. But I just think a lot of that doesn't come from Andor itself. It comes from Tony Gilroy in terms of me poking at the show, to be honest. But great question or great comment. Fake Nerd Podcast. That's Brandon. Okay. Oh, first wait, hold on. Let me do this right. I'm losing my voice already. You guys should follow Brandon at his Substack. That's right. Bitching About Nothing. Entertainment news and opinions from Brandon T. McClure. A great writer. A pop culture fiend. You should check out his Substack. There's the link up above. BT McClure at Substack.com. Or if you're watching and have your phone in your hand, use that QR code. All right, there you go. Now I can do this properly. Brandon at Fake Nerd Podcast. I got a question. Why do you think you never connected with the other popular sci-fi like Trek or Doctor Who or others you could think of? Is there a sci-fi that you connected with? Yeah, no, that's a great question, because sometimes I get a little bit sometimes it becomes like a character where I'm kind of, it's branding for me to say I don't like other things. I did enjoy Star Trek. I grew up with my dad loving to catch reruns of Star Trek. I grew up loving Star Trek 4, saw it in the theater, came home, obsessed with it. Love Star Trek 2. I think Star Trek 3 confused me. I thought it was, I don't even know if I ever have actually officially seen the first Star Trek movie. I think I've seen it in my dreams. Star Trek 6, I saw in high school. We all took a day off from school to go see it. Love Star Trek 6. Love First Contact. I'm a fan of Star Trek and what it goes out and tries to do. I think, Next Generation, watched a lot of those episodes. Loved them. I thought Q was great. Loved it. Patrick Stewart. Love it all. I just didn't connect with it because it is a little bit more sci-fi, and Star Wars is a little more fantasy, is the easiest way to start this answer. 5 minutes into my answer. I'm a gut reaction guy. I am not detail oriented. I hang out with the common folk. I want to go to a bar and get a drink and hang out with the people that make you uncomfortable. I can talk to the working man of the world. I have that kind of a different kind of vibe where Star Trek, sci-fi, it's always been of a different vibe to me. And that's a generalized comment maybe, but it's just me speaking the truth, where I just thought Star Trek was cold. I just didn't connect with it when I really took a deep dive into it. There wasn't a lot of warmth for me there. And yeah, I was Star Wars all the way from the beginning. It's a hard thing. And in terms of like Doctor Who, talked about it with Joseph because he's a big Doctor Who fan. I grew up thinking that Doctor Who was that weird British show shot on a set with like 2 props on it. Because it was. And so it was more of a that can't be real vibe. Even though Douglas Adams, my favorite novelist of all time, wrote on the show, even though a lot of great people wrote on the show, even though I accept that it was great then in its own way and it's great now. Yeah, it just didn't, it was a joke. It was a punchline. It was a punchline, and I just never engaged with it after that. So there you go. Speaking some truth. Speaking that truth there. So it bums people out. I know. I have a friend who is a writer on Star Trek shows, and I have a friend who just wrote on that movie. It was the 31, Star Trek 31 or something like that. One of my friends wrote on it, and I respect it, love it. And those folks love Star Wars less too. It's not just a stereotypical Star Wars versus Star Trek. I do think it says something about you if you prefer one over the other. And I mean that in a good way. It's a litmus test. Section 31, that's what it was. Someone I know wrote that one there. As far as sci-fi I like, Fifth Element. Stargate. I didn't see the show. I like Stargate in the theater. Yeah. Other than that, I can't think of anything. It's the same thing with Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. I love those things, but I wasn't immediately pulled into Lord of the Rings. I didn't read the books growing up. Pulled into it in 2002 when I finally went, oh, okay. And Game of Thrones, I just had this weird feeling I'd like it. I can't explain it. Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, okay. There you go. The rebooted Battlestar. Absolutely. That's a great one there too. And that's sci-fi. That's sci-fi. But in fact, that second season of Battlestar is one of the finest seasons of television. The first season is great too. The third and fourth are solid. Fourth, the show does some things, but there's a lot of things behind that I don't even put on the show. So yeah, I enjoyed that there. Cool. Great question, Brandon. Great question. Joey Beans checking in. And Addie's up. We got Cal calling in. And we'll do 16 seconds of sports, and then I'm going to get the hell out of here because I still got to write something tonight. Joey Beans, one of the oldest Schmoes fans I remember, saying, hey, Ken, favorite SNL Star Wars sketch? It is the Bobby Moynihan-led one where it's a commercial for Star Wars toys, which is really a joke about there being toys for adults. And it was... I had that chance to interview Bobby Moynihan on Jedi Council years ago, and we were talking about that sketch, and it was most of them were his toys, like him and Taron Killam. Like it was good. And during that era, like him, Mikey. I don't remember when I used to write sketches and stuff with Mikey back in the day. I don't remember Mikey being like a giant Star Wars fan, but him, Mikey, Taron, being Star Wars fans led to the Undercover Boss and all that kind of stuff. And I do like the Kylo Ren Undercover Boss stuff. I do enjoy that. But there's some other ones over the years that I'm not recalling. And there's probably some stuff they did with the Carrie Fisher episode and everything. Oh, the auditions. I do love the auditions. And that was around... God, was that around the special editions? It was before the prequels. Yeah, I think it was around the special editions where they did those different celebrities auditioning for Star Wars. Those ones were really funny. I remember that too. There you go. Kate Van D is here. Says, I'm not much of a Star Wars fan. The Andor trailer looked beautiful. Yeah. And Kyle does. Yes, you're absolutely right. Kyle points out, unfortunately, Kevin Spacey is all the way through that. Him doing the Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau. Yeah, it's great. That's great. Yeah, and Eli's right. They did him for Force Awakens too. Love that there. I was in, we did the crossover with Drama 3-4 and Schmoes Know around the time of Force Awakens. We did some audition videos, if I recall. Yeah, funny. Yeah, look up the old audition ones. We don't have to publicly watch them and celebrate them, but they're pretty funny. But Joey, thanks for that question. All right, let's do some calls here. Addie is calling in here, checking in. She's clapping. She's ready to go. Addie, what's up? What's on your mind?
Nothing, Ken. It's been a very long day.
It's been a long day. Long day. Well, we're listening. We're listening.
Oh, that's not why I'm calling. You asked what's up. It's been a very long day.
Okay. Okay.
I got to work at 6:30 this morning, and I walked in the door at 7 o'clock when your stream was starting. So,
well, was it grading papers? Was it fighting for the education department's life? What was it? What was it?
It was mostly research, but yeah.
Ah, okay. Research. I'm guessing your research is different than my. I'm gonna go read Wikipedia again. Research.
Oh no, I had to filter samples and I had to do science.
Let me ask this question. How many beakers were broken in today's research?
I broke none, but I was in a lab where actual lab was happening, and a student broke 2 very expensive pieces of glassware, from what I understood.
What's all right? And I'll get to anything you want to ask or talk about. But what's the process? So a kid who's with good intentions doing research, suddenly what? It drops, it pops, it explodes. What do you do? Do they get the bill? Do you just have to eat it? What happens here?
I think at my institution we just buy a new one. I think it depends on where you are. Like,
are losses built into the system there? Like, we just know we're going to lose a certain amount of beakers.
Yeah. And I will say some glassware is cheaper than other glassware, but this kid managed to break, from what I understood from the professor, 2 very expensive pieces of glassware in the same lab.
Look, I'm sure they felt bad about it.
I'm sure they did too. I know the kid. I'm sure he felt very bad about it.
He wasn't playing toss the football with a beaker or some sort of a centrifuge or something like that. Okay. All right.
No.
All right. I'm just curious. I imagine anytime it happens, it's like a scene from a rom-com where suddenly like the chemicals explode and Kibbs and Sue, and it's a it's a movie, but it's not.
No,
it's not.
Most of the time I want it to be that scene from the rom-com or like the high school drama where you drop the dishes and everyone starts clapping. That's what I want to do. That might make me a terrible person, but like that, as soon as I'm sure everyone is okay, I just want to start clapping.
Yeah, look, well, I'm with you on that. I'd clap. I'd probably clap first. I like when someone drops something at a restaurant, I don't clap. That's an employee having a bad time. But like one time I was walking with my old boss at the farmer's market, and she tripped in the middle of the street there, in the middle of the grove in the farmer's market, and she tripped and fell face first in the asphalt in front of a restaurant patio of crowded people. And I laughed because it was hilarious, and I realized that was not the appropriate response. Because in my defense, she was known for falling, and so as she's falling, I kind of was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, you keep doing this?" Anyways, so better you than me, Addie. Better you than me. But anyways, what's on your mind?
I did some stuff. I've been working on this wildfires project, and it's causing all sorts of problems. But
they call it wildfire. Okay, sounds interesting.
I think it's going to be, and one day I will tell you all about it.
Ooh, do you hear that, Blathering audience? That's a tease. That's what we. Is it something you just can't even tell your loved ones that you're working on?
No, it's not like that. It's more that I'm not entirely sure where it's going yet, so I really don't want to talk about it because I don't know what the data is going to say.
Okay, yeah, you don't want to. I get this. It's like when someone are like, "Oh, hey, tell me one of your jokes." No, come to a show. I'm not telling you anything until I get on that stage. I'm not going to spoil it, ruin it. It's never going to be the same. I feel you. That's the scientific equivalent of I'll tell the joke on stage.
Yeah. So, but the reason I called in tonight was because this is my last call of Black History Month. Because we're going to do 60 seconds of science on Saturday.
There you go.
Say that 5 times fast. And so in honor of Black History Month, I wanted to bring you 33 black scientists.
Love this. Ring the bell, sound the alarms. Let's go. Let's go with it.
I have not practiced. I have not timed this. Some of them you've heard of. Some of them you probably haven't.
Love it.
You ready?
I'm ready.
George Washington Carver, agricultural chemist. Dorothy Vaughan, NASA mathematician and the first black supervisor at NASA. Mark E. Dean, IBM computer engineer. Mae Jemison, first African-American astronaut. Percy L. Julian, the soybean chemist. Madam C.J. Walker, inventor and one of the largest employers of African-American women. Alice Ball, chemist. Patricia Bath, ophthalmologist. Guion Bluford, the first African-American in space. Otis Boykin, the inventor of the first electrical resistor. Rebecca Lee Crumpler, the first African-American doctor. Marie Daly, the first woman to earn a PhD in chemistry. Christine Darden, a NASA mathematician. Charles Richard Drew, the father of the blood bank. Victor J. Glover, Jr., an ISS pilot. Sarah Good, one of the first African-American women to receive a patent. Betty Washington Green, first female African-American chemist to work at Dow Chemical. Mary Jackson, NASA's first female African-American engineer. Katherine Johnson, a NASA mathematician. Lonnie G. Johnson, nuclear engineer and inventor of the Super Soaker. Ronald E. McNair, laser physicist on the Challenger. Ray Montague, the first person to design a naval ship using computer design. Willie Hobbs Moore, the first African-American woman to earn a doctorate in physics. Carolyn Parker, a physicist on the Dayton Project, which was part of the Manhattan Project. Vivian Theodore Thomas, a medical lab tech who helped develop life-saving cardiac procedures for babies. Gladys West, a mathematician who helped develop GPS. J. Ernest Wilkins, a mathematician on the Manhattan Project. Daniel Hale Williams, he did the first open heart surgery and founded the first Black-owned hospital. Ed Dwight, the first Black astronaut candidate. Edward Boucher, the first African-American to earn a PhD in physics. Alexa Canaday, the first African-American woman neurosurgeon. James West, who invented the Electret microphone. And Anna Easley, a NASA computer coder.
Beautiful list there. Big round of applause for Addie in that list. Love it. And Addie, let's be honest. You know where I'm going to go next, because you know I'm a big, dumb oaf. You know what I want to talk about out of that list, right?
I hope nothing I don't have the ability to look up really quickly.
There's a lot of important people on the list, from top to bottom. People that contributed so much to the world we know. As someone who used to
Super Soaker?
Yes, ding, ding, ding. I used to spend Friday nights in college going to a local middle school with my friends and have Super Soaker wars. I used to own like 7 Super Soakers. And Laserbolt says there's a doc about the Super Soaker. I don't even know that there was a doc about this. I don't know if you do know more, but I need to know more, because I owe so much hours of entertainment to that.
He also
creator.
invented the Nerf gun.
Yeah, you had those. Some friends of mine had some Nerf War, Turf Wars things going on, which I'm glad I didn't attend to, because the guy who hosted the parties eventually got rightfully canceled. So I'm glad I didn't do that. But not the creator of the Nerf problem. But Super Soakers, Nerf. This is someone who valued entertainment and changed the landscape of the suburbs.
He was also I shouldn't say was. He's still alive. He's an aerospace engineer who also worked for JPL at NASA.
See, oh man, look at that. Super Soaker 1500. Oh my God, this is I gotta find him. Maybe that could be the doc.
It has to. To me, when I read that, I was like, of course an engine, like, that's not a normal water gun. Of course someone with advanced training had to invent the Super Soaker. Like, it has special technology. Like, yes. I tell you, you're bringing back and by the way, I don't want to derail this. You brought up some very important stuff here, and here I am talking about my silly nights. But yeah, apparently he conceived it while working for the Air Force.
Well, it's almost like anything. It's like I'm surprised he didn't work for DARPA. I'm surprised this wasn't a way to, the military wanted this to shoot acid at people. Next thing you know, it's in our hands as a water gun, as often is the case for things. But that's fascinating to me. I had the one. It was a double one. It was, of course, the big pump. It had like 2. It was kind of red. And then I had pistols. This is what we would do. We were like 18, 19 years old. We all had the Super Soakers in the back of our cars, in our trunks. and we'd go race up to the Napomo Mesa, my hometown, like 10 o'clock at night on a Friday or Saturday night, and just divide up into teams and have like a Super Soaker war. So anyways.
It was double barrel. It had 2 green barrels, and then there was a yellow one that like screwed on the back of it.
That's the one I had, Addie. Yes, you're right. That's the one I had.
My brother and I used to shoot each other in the pool with it.
Yes. Now do that, but run around a school at night. Does anyone remember what it was? Was it the Super Soaker 1000? No. There's a 1500. There's so many.
It was the early 90s.
It was the 90s. Yes.
Yeah.
1994, 95 is when I was playing with this stuff. Amazing. Amazing. There you go. Well, Addie, also appreciate that list. And what is both, like I said, impressive list of 33 African Americans in our history here, but probably a lot of those firsts not too far back in the recent past here. So that's something telling as well.
Quite a few of them were in the early 20th century, I will say.
Yep.
But still not as far back as white men earning PhDs in certain things.
Yes, indeed.
So
indeed.
And I feel especially drawn to the women on this list who were the first in their fields, because that the road to hoe on that one, like I can't. It had to have been so hard. It had to have been so hard. And the resilience that you would have to have, and the love of what you do, you would have to have. Like I always tell people when I had friends who wanted to go to grad school, and I was in grad school, and they were like, should I go? And I tell my students this now, like, should I go? Should I get a PhD? And I'm like, you have to love it. You have to love it the way that you love a spouse. Because even on the days you wake up and you hate it, you still have to love it enough to get out of bed and go do it. So that, plus the adversity that these women and these men faced to be the first in their fields to do these things, like I can't, like, I tip my metaphorical hat to every single one of them, because
Absolutely.
It is still hard out there. I can only imagine how hard it was.
Yeah. We can't fathom it in a way. And which is why it's important to teach the real history of things out there, and a full, robust picture of the history of this world.
Well, like I said, in honor of Black History Month, I thought we'd highlight some of these names and give them their just desserts. Not their just desserts, but give them their recognition.
Yeah, honor them.
Give them their flowers.
Absolutely. While we still can, before Google or anyone else takes the month away from us. But we will always speak up and speak out and honor such wonderful people like that. Addie, I really appreciate that. I think that was wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you, Ken. I will be back on Saturday. With some fun science.
We're looking for the hope in the world of science. Thank you, Addie.
You're welcome,
all right.
Ken.
You got it. Addie checking in with the good information there. Love that. Home run of a call. Home run of a call. Once again, still haven't put the sound effect on the right pad here. I don't know if I'll ever, be honest with you. I don't know if I'll ever do that. All right, top of the hour. Before we get out of here, we're going to do 16 seconds of sports. I am wearing the baseball jersey after all. And actually was looking at spring training highlights this morning. You know, it's that time of season. But before we do that, I got to take a call from my buddy Cal. Lauren's I'm going to favorite that question here. Cal, here you go. You ready, buddy? You're up. Is it too soon? How are we doing?
It's kind of too soon, Ken.
Oh, do you want to come back? What do you want to do your Cal recap?
I can attempt to, if it's all right with you.
So here's what we'll say hello. I'm gonna hang up on you like I'm mad at you at a payphone, and then at the end of the show we'll bring you back on, and then it won't be too soon. You do your Cal recap.
All right.
Cal's gone. I noticed as I brought him in, he looked like he had like a sheet of paper or something. I was like, oh, was Cal coming in to do a recap and I brought him up too soon? I don't know. I look at it. He's showing me on camera. He has something. He's working on something. Steve, it's a masterpiece, and I ruined it. I shat upon it. Hi, Cal. Bye, Cal. Says Addie. He'll be back. So in the meantime, I'm going to answer some questions. If you got a super blather or anything you want to post, now's the time to do it because I won't be here too much after 5 p.m. tonight. But I do have a question starred from the great Lauren Romo. Lauren Romo says, Ken, thoughts on Fortnite Chapter 6, Season 2 with the smirky face. I count that as a smirky face. I love it so far. New season of Fortnite dropped this past Friday for those of you keeping score at home, and I know you are. And I like it. It's criminal thievery, heisty themed, which is oddly timed, but I'm enjoying it so far, but here's the thing. Every season I have some things that I prefer over other seasons of Fortnite, but I get into it. Romo, you play with me. I start screaming. I have fun. I shoot things. I get in cars and run around. I fall off cliffs. It's all fun to me. So I just miss I miss those hammers. And I missed the season where I could just get in a car as the gunner with a turret on top and just win the games automatically. Addie says, wait, Fortnite is a show? They run it in seasons. Laserbolt with a very generous, no question, just love you, buddy. Well, you know what? Let me tell you something, Laserbolt. Fellow Kenneth, I love you, man. I love watching your stuff. You got such a warmth to what you do. And I want more people to watch your very relaxing flight simulator videos. That said, Laserbolt, I am not going to shut up about forest meats. We're sitting on a community gold mine, in which you take all the gold. Forest meats. I have gone down this rabbit hole of people in their converted vans or tents. And it's a weird rabbit hole because, as a lot of you pointed out in chat the other day when I was talking about it, a lot of this, hey, I'm going to go live in a van stuff really happened during the pandemic. And it really happened with a lot of streamers, gamers, vloggers, a lot of YouTube people. And then Grace was watching the other day that real sad doc about the internet personality who was murdered. And her and her boyfriend were on one of these trips in one of these vans. And it made me just think about that whole weird genre. But now that I'm in that genre, it's in my YouTube algorithm. Number one, I'm blown away about how many people are living in their vans and making content off of it, and good content in terms of it's very highly viewed. But now I oddly enough, I obsessed with it to the point where I don't think I could actually do it. But Laserbolt, I keep thinking every time I watch one of these, I'm watching for like 40 minutes. Trent the Traveler is this one guy. I've been watching his videos, and it literally is just him and his dog Millie, and he's like, you're out there, and he's cooking. Half of it's a cooking video. I keep thinking Laserbolt and forest meats. We've got to make this happen. And then, you know what I'd love to do is I'll show up. Not that that's going to bring you an audience, Laserbolt, but I'd love to. I'll go out. We'll go out camping, and I'll have a forest meat because that's how much I believe in it. Speaking of vans, Eric is on the Wangers tonight. Yes, and Eric got there early. Eric was like 2016. I remember because we were still working at Collider, so it's had to be no later than 2017. Probably maybe middle 2017, where Eric showed up to Collider one day and he had his first van out on the street. We were all like, but let's go see it. And I was like, oh yeah, I think I could do this. Showers and potties is the one thing that would hold me up there. You know, good hot shower. But you can get the ones with the showers. There you go. There you go. Now I have your attention. So there you go. Rich T says, what are you saying? I'm with Eddie. You don't understand Fortnite. Yeah. No, it's released in seasons. It's season 6, chapter 2 right now. So each year's like a season roughly. And then within that, there's 2 or 3 chapters. And it just refreshes the board. New IP, new characters come in. Because otherwise, it could get repetitive and bored. It's kind of genius. And to your question, Rich T, do you ever watch Red versus Blue? I do not know what that is. There you go. Let me know. Okay. Addie says, I don't like the woods, but I'd watch Forest Meets. You have 1 subscriber, Laser Bulb. All right. I think we're ready. Let's do this here. Let me get the cameras set up here. So, Steve, make sure you have makeup on. It's time for 16 seconds of sports. This is where Steve gives me 16 seconds of the sports headlines. Some I've heard, some I don't know anything about, and we talk about all of it there. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Thank you again for having me, as always. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers. No, great show tonight. I'm going to keep this quick for you, and I know you want to get out of here fast, so we will. We can jump right on in.
Let's do it. 16 seconds of sports.
16 seconds of sports. Here we go. Right now, Steve's got to pull up the right note for it. All right, there we go. Okay, here we go. 16 seconds of sports. Boom. Canada beat the United States in the 4 nations face-off, 3-2 in overtime. Unfortunately, we lose Minnesota. The NFL scouting combine is this week. An unidentified team, cough, cough, the Packers, want to ban the tush push. And Alex Rodriguez won a Bucknell student $10,000 at halftime for hitting a half-court shot at a basketball game.
Wow. Okay. That's one of the good things A-Rod has done in life. Maybe his redemption arc has begun. Fascinating. Tush push. I know a lot of people want it banned because of the injury aspect, right? We had one of the Kansas City players at the Super Bowl, Chris, was it Jones, whatever, like fixing his neck, right?
Yeah, he also lined up completely horizontal or like parallel to the line of scrimmage on the play after that he hurt himself that way. So, maybe don't do that. I see where you're coming from. I've heard a lot of people say, hey, we need to ban this because of injuries. I think a lot of people that want to ban this are mad that their quarterback doesn't squat 600 pounds and they don't have the best offensive line in football.
So let's disclose right now, you're an Eagles fan, and this is pretty much an Eagles play, right? There's other teams that do it, but this is an Eagles play.
It is. We saw the Bills and Josh Allen fail to convert it several times in the playoffs. So it's not a 100% for sure thing, which is again, some of the reason why people want to get rid of it, because it's ugly. I get that it's ugly football. It's not the most exciting thing in the world to watch. Is it really just a free yard? Teams have beaten it. Washington beat it several times against the Eagles this year before they started jumping over the line of scrimmage and being threatened to be awarded points. So it is, in my humble opinion, I'm super biased, the most biased you could possibly be. I don't know, but it seems like a skill issue, in my opinion.
I would say in theory and in general, I agree with what you're saying. It's a frustrating play. It's hard to stop it. It seems a little it's not a cheat, but it seems like a come on, face me like a man. Like I want if I was on the opposite end of the field, like no, hut hike and drop back and let's see what we can do. But that's not the name of the game. You got to score. And I brought up a comment from Rich T. The Bucs stopped it. You mentioned some teams that stopped it, and that's the thing, right? Like when the Dolphins broke out the Wildcat, everyone was like, what is this wizardry? This is dark magic. And the team started to stop it. And then it went away, or it wasn't as prevalent as it was. So I'm with you in the spirit of sports. You want it stopped? You want it banned? How about you stop it on the field? That's what I say.
It sounds rah-rah, but yeah, that's the answer. If you want to add a wrinkle of some kind of like you can only have so many people pushing or something like that, I understand that because there are rules about who's allowed to push. The offense is allowed to push. The defense isn't allowed to push, stuff like that. So I can see where it could be fixed, but to just throw it out, I think is lame, but I'm super biased.
Maybe Force Ghost Anthony says unban the shift in baseball. I don't know if I agree with that. The shift was annoying to me. But I thought it was fair. I thought it was legal. It just was weird. But my thought was with the shift is similar to this because the baseball shift drove me crazy. But at one point, you couldn't do that with Wade Boggs or Tony Gwynn because they'd put the ball where you weren't. So I would have just bunted every time up the third base line if the shift was on for me.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, or like whoever mentioned that in the chat about. Yeah, not wanting. I totally see where there's two sides of that. I think baseball made really good changes in the last few years to make the game more fun to watch. And let's they got a good thing going. Let's not mess with it.
The biggest thing with the shift was it was so prevalent, and it had changed the game. It had changed the game.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had changed the game. With the tush pushes, how about you just make sure the team doesn't get to the 1 yard line? Then even work about stopping it. But yeah. So there we go. Ranger Donald checks in. Hi, Ranger Donald. Throwing the ball was once a wild and controversial thing to do way back in the day. That's right. What, you're throwing the damn football now? No, we don't do that here. What else did I miss on the table there? What do we want to break down?
Yeah, so we did the tush push. A-Rod hitting a half-court shot. Canada beating us in overtime as a country, and for really just for in a lot of things lately, not just hockey.
Yes.
And then the scouting combine. I don't know how interested you are and just how desperate you are for football news, but
no. I mean, baseball warming back up again, and my fantasy draft at the end of March. Like I'm getting into baseball mode, but I much like last season, I'm following the Dolphins very, very close, and with the NFL raising the cap. The Dolphins playing a game in Spain this year, which has me upset. I don't like the international games, but whatever. I'm looking to, I'm interested to see who they might draft. I'd love for them to draft a bruising running back, a rumble and tumble and tush push of a running back. But I don't think they're going to do that. So I don't know.
Yeah, baseball soon. We're about a month, a little more than a month away. I think March 27th is the first game. So
yeah,
really, I'm super excited for baseball.
And Canada, yeah, I think we were following that game on our last broadcast, and or one of our last ones. And yeah, you love to see it. Not rooting against this country, not rooting against the athletes on the USA hockey team, but it just seemed right for the time in the heart of Boston for that going, that whole thing. And yeah, I'll take that. Final thing, Philadelphia Eagles say White House trip. That's okay. I stand with the Eagles on that one there.
Yeah, go Birds. I'm with you on that. I stand with my team there. They didn't go last time they won the Super Bowl either, and It was a similar administration. So sensing a bit of a trend there.
Go ahead. Man, I'd be curious how that works out. If it's not just Jeff Lurie, it seems like. Do they take a vote? And because I'm sure there's some on the team who are like, yeah, whatever, I don't care, or yeah, absolutely, let's go. But I wonder how they come to that decision as a team.
From the stuff I've read, team captains talk about it, and the sentiment on the Eagles from at least this roster, I think, is a little bit more from, again, not that I actually know anything, but from the things that we've all read, this roster is a little bit more aligned on that decision than previously, and they haven't even actually technically been invited yet, so this will probably just be the whole, you never got invited. We'll do that song and dance. So
yes, and then you know what's going to happen? Kansas City's going to get the invite, and Harrison Butker and Mahomes will be there having McDonald's, filet-o-fishes. Steve, thank you. We'll do some more sports on Thursday. We got to follow up with our date with hockey.
Yeah, we have a big date night update on Thursday for hockey, so we'll stay tuned for that.
There you go. Thanks, Steve. 16 seconds of sports is what we do on Mondays. Yeah, Michael McCarcel, talking about the Major League Baseball shift. It's always been a thing. There used to be the Ted Williams shift. It's very prevalent in the history, throughout the history of the game. But it got to the point where it's based, and the last few years, it was based on stats and the new age baseball stats, which are very accurate and come from the Moneyball kind of stuff. If you've seen that movie, it's kind of an extension of that, where you can prove with stats and, dare I say, science, what these athletes are most likely to do every time out. And because of that, you're able to shift your defenses around in comical ways. It was comical at times, where you'd have 8 players on one side, and that's why I would say, like, just flick the ball that way and get a stand-up double the other way, and then maybe it'll stop shifting on you. But it's not as simple as that. So there was a rule there where there's only so many players you can have on the other side of the base there. Breaking news. Breaking news. Laura Romo says CM Punk wearing a Chicago Teachers Union t-shirt on Monday Night Raw. Love to see it. Yeah. CM Punk is, generally speaking, on the right side of history on social issues. He's sometimes on the wrong side of his own history. But I do like Phil Brooks and what he says. And it's an interesting time in the WWE locker room. It really must be an interesting time, because with people like Punk and Sami Zayn and Finn Balor and others being rather outspoken on certain, in particular, social issues and political issues, as outspoken as they can be with stuff like this. it's fascinating with some of the other people in that locker room and the history of pro wrestling locker rooms. Not even leaning one way politically, but just kind of leaning in on things is all I'll say. That locker room's got to be a little bit different. There you go. We got Cal almost ready, and then we're going to get on out of here. But Dylan Barry has a very important question as it relates to me. How hot will it get in Burbank this week? LA weather has been such a roller coaster this year already. Weather talk. You know I love weather talk. Here, we'll even do some weather music. Let's check the weather right now. Looking at Burbank weather. It's a 71-degree temperature right now. Over the next few days, we're looking at highs in the low 80s, 81 on Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday, a nice warm 78. But temperatures fall rapidly into the 60s, then the low 60s, with a little rain coming in next Wednesday. Burbank is looking good. Come on by and live in paradise. That's the weather here on the Blathering. Thank you, Dylan. I entertain myself. Okay. Let's get to Cal. Kingsport Cal is on the show. How are you, my good friend?
What's going on?
Where were you Saturday? Were you working? We were talking about you on that show.
I'm doing things, man. I got to make moves out here in the world, Ken. I can't be glued to the screen 24/7.
I respect it. You know, I respect it. I respect it a lot, Cal. I can't remember what we were talking about. What were we talking about? Audience, do you remember? I actually was like, oh man, I wish this is the one episode. I wish Kingsport Cal was here.
I know what it was. I know exactly what it was. He was talking about Mexican food.
Oh yeah,
See.
Yes, the bad Mexican food in Johnson City, Tennessee. Have you had it?
Well, yes, I've had the whole Tennessee region. Well, the whole area. That's the whole part of the game, Ken. You're not supposed to give away the secret. I know a lot of Spanish friends. I have a lot of Spanish friends. And the secret is you already nailed it when you said it. We don't know what authentic Mexican food is. So they just it's cheap, they put it out, they know we'll take it, we'll think it's exotic, we'll love it.
That's amazing.
When you are in a relationship with a Latino female, you realize the goodness, the greatness of Mexican food because you get the real deal. You see what I'm saying?
I got Salvadorian food made from abuelitas from El Salvador. It was special. It was special.
That's another thing that you let slip on that episode that I did not know, Ken. I knew about your lady friend in the past in JC, but I did not know she was El Salvadorian, however you say that.
Yeah, from El Salvador. Well, yeah. She to be clear, she was from LA, but her mother was from El Salvador. Yeah.
Okay, so you got a little jungle fever thing going there. That's great.
Okay, I don't know if I don't know if that's I don't know what that's maybe.
To me, that's a little bit of jungle fever. Anyway,
okay.
And speaking of that, I went to go renew my tags yesterday.
Your car tags. Okay, please do that.
Renew my car tags the other day. I think it was yesterday.
Don't go to jail.
Anyway, something that I'm not going to go to jail, Ken. I'm completely legal in all facets.
It's trying times. It's trying times. Okay.
Well, yeah, I know, and I want to talk. I got something about that. But anyway, but no, when I was there at the county clerk's office, there was these people. They had to be in their 60s, right?
Old
and
people.
I'm over. Okay. Well, I'm getting there, but anyway, but they were in their 60s. This man and woman.
Okay.
And they was doing a transaction, and they were getting a marriage license.
Love it.
And and then the woman, and then they asked them, they said, well, when you get married? They said tomorrow, and they were all giddy and smiling and stuff. And that made me happy. You know what I mean?
Great.
That made me happy. These older people are going to get married tomorrow somewhere, I guess, in the courthouse.
Look,
and
man.
live out, do their thing. I thought that was cool.
Look, my first, second job technically, but first, like, hey, I got to go to work to a job was I worked in a care center in Arroyo Grande, a retirement home, an old folks home, whatever term you want to put on it, but it was a care center, and it had one of the first Alzheimer wings in the state of California. It was a pretty big operation, and you would see folks in their 80s, early 90s, 70s. Finding love, they're a widow, they're in their care, and you'd see them, and they'd like date. They'd go to little corners of the cafeteria and date. It was the best because all of our spirits never die. We are who we are to the end, and it was great to see.
Yeah, well, again, it brought me joy to see that these two came together. Even though they looked a little rough. Let's just be honest here. They looked a little rough.
Life.
They looked like they deserved each other. It looked like they got to the end, and they're like, okay, this person will do. But that's still a good thing. Still a good thing. I'm not.
I take your point. I'm not. Hey.
You know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean.
Want to get married? Yeah, okay, let's do it. Yeah, okay.
Sure.
All right,
Sure.
recap the goddamn show, Cal, because I want to get on out of here. I need to get on out of here. I got to eat dinner and do some work.
One more thing. Well, a couple things. White Claw. I bought this damn watermelon White Claw.
Yeah, okay. What's wrong with it?
What's wrong with it? It doesn't taste like watermelon. It doesn't.
Well,
it tastes like a hint of some kind of flavor mixed with carbonated water.
Yeah, any of these things. It's just, if it says mango, it's what chemicals they can put together to kind of resemble mango. Yeah.
Not mango, watermelon.
Yeah, I know you bought watermelon. I heard you. I saw you post it. I saw you disparage my alcohol tastes with your post. I don't know what do you have against White Claws or Trulies?
I just don't think that those are alcoholic beverages. To you, that should be a good bad food. White Claw is not acceptable.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
In a true alcoholics community, White Claw is not acceptable.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna find. Maybe I can get Ash Crossan to come on the show and talk about her love of White Claws. Okay. I challenge met, Cal. I think you're not. I don't think you're wrong. It's a good bad drink. It's a good bad food. Okay.
Okay. And then I also would suggest another good bad food, which is crawdaddies, which is crayfish.
Oh, okay.
I love them. I know you don't like to eat anything with eyes. But I
don't like to eat. Yeah, no, I don't. I've had those. I've gone to one of those restaurants where you think you're ordering like a shrimp appetizer, and then they bring you a bib and a bucket, and you have to murder these things in your table. It's not my way. But I think you're onto something.
I love seafood. Tully, Zima was good for its time. You had to be that when Zima was around.
But Zima was the White Claw of its day.
It was. It truly was. But it was the first. So it was significant. Anyway,
Anyways, all right. Recap the goddamn show, Cal. Recap the goddamn show.
I don't even know if I can get to that because I have to do one last thing too for Black History Month. But I don't have all these lists things. I just had a thought and something that I wanted to get your take on.
Okay.
I mean, I can recap. That was only Brandon.
Okay. Well.
Anyway.
Okay.
I can save it, but because I do want to say something about what Addie said. But anyway.
Okay. I don't want to be here all night, Cal.
I know. I should have went.
Wrap it up.
My question to you is about the DEI stuff. This is a serious.
Yes.
DEI
serious
stuff.
question. Okay.
Serious question for whatever world you can say. I don't know. Anyway, resegregation seems to be happening with DEI.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And the reason I say that is because remember when segregation happened, Black people went and we started our own businesses. We worked at our own businesses, and we thrived doing that so much that you see what. You know what I'm saying? There's DEI seems like it's trying to be like, well, don't hire Black people. It seems like a form of trying to resegregate us to make us go back to forming our own businesses and going to only go work for people who are of our own nationality and stuff like that to keep us apart. It seems like you see what I'm saying?
I absolutely see what you're saying. I think there's this false idea that DEI, much like any other name you want to slap on those kind of policies from back in the day, affirmative action comes to mind. It is often, I think, intentionally or sometimes just accidentally misinterpreted as less qualified individuals get the jobs that us more qualified white people are in line for. And that's how it's sold, right? That's how it's being sold by this administration. But that's going back, again, even to affirmative action, which was, what, 90s, that kind of whole, when that was the buzzword. I think you're right, Cal. Whether intentional or not, that is the vibe behind it. And I think more often than not, it's intentional. I wish I knew the better words to say to fight with the folks who just don't want to engage with the bigger picture that you're bringing up. But it comes down to this real smug, fearful white person thought of, I am clearly more qualified, but now you're telling me less qualified people are going to be put in when we know that's not the truth. Much like with the Rooney Rule in the NFL. Hey, we haven't had until Art Shell in the late 80s. I was like a teenager when Art Shell became the first like black coach in the history of the NFL. Doug Williams, Super Bowl in '87, right? With Washington, first black quarterback to start the Super Bowl, which was a giant talking point, by the way. And there was people against the idea. This was the late 80s. There's just this, this keeps repeating itself, and I just don't know how to engage with it anymore, other than hearing what you have to say and kind of say it. I really, as you ask, and I joke, but I do hear what you're saying, Cal.
Well, like you said, like you were saying, I mean, it's a long-term vision. It's not something that's happen quick. I mean, they think, well, any good strategist thinks ahead. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
it just seems it's just something I was thinking the other day.
Yeah, and then in terms of like the Tulsa massacre and all that stuff that comes to mind, a lot of these black-owned businesses or black communities that prospered in the Jim Crow South and just fine, F it, we're going to do it on our own. Then we saw what happened. White folks literally got biplanes and dropped bombs on them. Like that. That's kind of
those biplanes were also, sorry to interrupt you, Ken. Those biplanes were owned by the black people in the community. You see, they came in, stormed in, and stole their planes and used their planes against them. But anyway,
crazy.
They were richer and more affluent than they're literally on the other side of the tracks. There was black on one side of the tracks, white on the other side of the track. Literally, their town was so more. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
No, well, it does matter. The history of it matters because, as I've talked about before, that's not something I learned in school. The Tulsa Massacre isn't something I learned in school. I had to learn about it when a TV show in 2019 brought it up, which is embarrassing, not just for me, but the school system I was raised in. So I think it's important. I think it's part of the bigger conversation. And I'm one of the people that says I don't know if the Civil War ever really ended. And time and time again, we see proof of that out there in the political and just pop culture world.
Well, it is embarrassing that it took a TV show to show it to the masses. My mother knew vaguely of it through down stuff, through just black community in general, even though we're over here in Tennessee. She knew vaguely of it and talked about it. So, it did take that show to make me realize what the hell she was talking about.
I have a friend. I'll keep the friend out of it to not indict their father, but their father had said, my friend was like, "Oh, we learned about it in our school, just as my father did, and it was taught to us as if it was a victory." The Tulsa Massacre was looked at as look what we did to save our community, which is even more frightening and frustrating and anger-inducing.
Anyway,
all right, until he says, wait till you learn about the Philadelphia move. I mean, just all of it. Wait till we all learn about all of it, and I hope we get a chance. All right, Cal, that was great. That was worth going overtime here. But let's go, okay? Thank you. You did the wrap up already. So I think we're done here. Do you have anything to say as we wrap up the show, or any apologies to make?
Well, also, when I was a child in at a park in a sandbox, I lost my He-Man action.
Hmm. You lost your He-Man action figures? What forever?
I lost one He-Man, the actual He-Man, first action figure. I lost it in a sandbox in a fucking in the playground, and I couldn't find it because my mother said we had to leave.
Well,
Anyway,
which one was it? What we should send you a new
I
one.
just told you, He-Man.
Oh,
He-Man.
He-Man. I thought you were in the general sense, like He-Man,
No,
just one of my
man,
He-Mans.
I had He-Man.
Could have been
Toy.
Ram Man. Could have been Fisto.
I know.
You look like
could've-
a Fisto guy. Don't lie to me.
I'm a man at arms guy. My brother got man at arms, so
Ooh,
I
man
got.
of arms. There you go.
We went to the store and bought them, and then we went to the playground later on that day, and I buried that He-Man, and I lost it. Anyway, so
I apologize for that.
But-
I'm
but
sorry that
I
happened
did-
to you, Cal. Okay.
Right.
All right, Cal.
that is life. But one last thing.
No,
Addie-
we got. I got. to
Addie
go.
pointed out the Super Soaker. I cannot say.
I
I cannot.
got-
Addie pointed out the black person invented Super Soaker. I did not know that. So thank
Well,
you.
there
for
you
that.
go. There you
And
go.
I'll see you later, Ken.
All right,
Yeah.
Cal. I love you, Cal. Kingsport Cal checking in. I really do have to go. I'm going to try to go for a little walk and get some fresh air before I have to sit down and do some more work tonight. But it's been great hanging out with all of you, especially if you listen later on the audio podcast version. Hey, check out patreon.com/Napzok. I'd really love your support and try to get over 100 paid supporters over there. But we'll see you Thursday, as David Mackay says, based off what I say. Bye.